Guys, we're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
And we have some good news.
There's news. It feels like, and of course, I hear like a motorcycle by the moment we start. God dang it. We're in the middle of a heat wave, so got to keep the window open, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, I have to ask you that we have really not had anything real hockey-related news-wise for about the past nearly 2 months, it feels like.
Yeah.
But yesterday, we just got so much. I had about 22 screenshots on my phone, and I'm someone who never has photos, but it was just news. It felt like yesterday was normal again. So how did it feel for you guys? We'll start off there.
It was interesting. You know, we knew that Bettman was going to make the announcement. We already kind of had this idea of what the playoffs was going to look like. We were finally going to know what the draft lottery and the draft was going to look like. And things kind of started pouring out midday before Bettman made the announcement. You know what it felt like? It felt like free agency, where things just kind of started dropping.
Yeah, news. Daniel, how did it feel for you?
Yeah, I felt like a barrage of were you getting hints that these things are going to come up, and then suddenly official, all these things coming out. I like now that we have a good structure about where everything's going and how we're going to assess the next few months. I know that for us, there was a lot of speculation on that here on the show and how things were going to go. I remember our really crazy playoff formats. Yeah, those were great. But I'm happy to see that things are really taking shape.
We still do have many questions, as you're kind of saying there, but the league has really done a good job of providing a lot of info for the next step. We have a lot to get to, but you talk about how it was a barrage. It kind of felt like you're leading your clone troopers into battle, and all of a sudden they turn on you. 66 here, because if you're a loyal listener of the show, you're going to realize, wait a minute, today is supposed to be Bizarre Adventures. And I feel your pain, ladies and gentlemen, because it was my week to pick, and we were going to look at episode 3 of Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith. But then with everything coming out, we just kind of made the decision that, we need to do a full-on hockey episode. But on Sunday, we will be doing Bizarre Adventures. Again, we'll go straight into the hockey because we just have, I don't even want to say it's a power hour. It's just going to be multi-point this. But I wanted to quickly add, I have like 9-10 points, but I want to start with point 0.5, guys. And that is, congratulations all of a sudden, Alex Ovechkin has a second son. Congratulations, and because he's Russian, there's only about 5 names to choose from. Congratulations to the birth and well-being of Ilya Ovechkin. I love
Congrats.
Named after Kovalchuk, probably. Yeah. But good for Ovi, eh?
Yes,
but both of them have to be 50-goal guys, otherwise they're just... Nothing's going to happen, right? Those kids have such expectations on them. Get the stick in hand right now and start taking 1-Ts, guys.
Well, that's if they play hockey.
Yeah.
They got it, right?
You might play basketball, you never know. It's growing.
It is. Hey, man. You know what's really weird about that? I saw Ovechkin. It was him and his wife, and they were in what looked like a hospital room, and they were like together in that. So I wonder if they're in Russia or it's okay there, or if they're in Washington.
Oh, it's not okay in Russia.
Oh, but hey, if I'm an NHLer, I'm not going back to Russia with all this going on.
Listen, I'm not going to make fun of Russia, but...
I don't want you to get killed.
But I don't know if you heard, miraculously, 3 doctors fell out of a window.
Really?
Yeah, and those 3 doctors just happened to speak out about certain things about COVID-19 and the government.
Alex, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just gonna move on because... obvious reason. You're scaring me. I gotta look out my window to see if there's a black window tinted SUV. Guys coming out in suits just like the guys from Men in Black. But we'll go to the first real point of the show here, and that's that it seems to be that the Hall of Fame selections for this year are going to be they're going to be selected online, of course, because you've got, obviously you need to social distance. You've got guys like Laney McDonald, more exposed to the virus. So, Alex, I'm not going to ask you this because I think you know where I'm going to go with this. But Daniel, every year there's that question of, does this guy deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? There seems to be a bit of a standard. So I'm going to read you someone's stat line, and I want you to tell me whether they should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
This player, 1,424 games.
That's a lot.
They had 522 goals, 541 assists for 1,063 points, 2,905 penalty minutes, fun fact. In 117 playoff games, 62 points, 26 goals, 225 penalty minutes. A two-time All-Star in 91 and 96, won the Stanley Cup with the Dallas Stars in 1999, and a former captain of an NHL team. Does that player deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes. Is this Mike Modena?
It is not Mike Modena.
No, Mike Modena.
No, because he's at 1,499 games played.
Oh, true. Okay.
Daniel definitely knows who it is, but he just can't think of it.
If I asked you who he was the captain of, you'd probably get it, but I just want you to tell me, does that player, 500 goals, 1,000 games played, nearly 3,000 penalty minutes, does that player, two-time All-Star, deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes. I believe so.
Congratulations, as Jeff Merrick would say, because this is, if we ever have Jeff Merrick on the show, I'm going to ask him this, because he loves doing this. Congratulations, Daniel. You just put Pat Verbeek into the Hall of Fame.
Who is it? Oh, Patrick Verbeek. Oh, okay, yes, now I remember him.
Yep, Pat Verbeek.
The former Whalers great.
Yeah, the guy, I believe, who went to Brian Burke, because the team didn't like Brass Bonanza, I think? He was the captain who said, hey, change it, and then... Man, that song is more popular than the Whalers themselves.
That one threw me off, because I remember... okay, it's pretty funny. I used to just know this, because you know the O-Pee-Chee hockey cards?
Yeah.
So I used to get a lot of these from garage sales before. So I got a lot of the old 80s and 90s cards. So when I saw this guy's stats, I was like, man, this guy goes off, especially for the Whalers. And then you see his later career. He won the cup. I'm like, it doesn't really the two All-Star selections threw me off. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's something to think about.
Now, probably one of the more famous known scouts in the NHL with Steve Yzerman in Detroit. Big loss for Tampa Bay when you think about it. But first of all, we're going to more NHL news. And lost in the shuffle yesterday was the news that Jason Botterill will return to Buffalo for a straight season. Now, the Sabres, with missing this year's play-in, will now have missed the playoffs for 9 straight seasons.
So, go. Sorry. I
just wanted to read you a tweet from one of the co-owners of the Buffalo Sabres. Quote, he's our GM. Our plan is to continue with him, Pegula said in a conference call with AP. I realize maybe it's not popular with fans, but we have to do things that we feel are right, she said. We have a little bit more information than maybe a fan does. Some inner workings that we see some positives in. Okay, so I'd love to know what the positives are that this guy hasn't done anything in 4 years and the Sabres haven't done anything in 9.
This is the issue I have. I don't know who to blame. Because there's blame to be passed. I think there's blame to be passed around on a lot of people. Right? You look at the signings that he made. You bring in Marcus Johansson, right? That doesn't seem like a bad move. 2 years, $4.5 million. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a longer term offer from someone. Mm-hmm. You bring in Wayne Simmons for what was it, a 4th or a 5th?
I believe it was a 4th.
It's not the worst move, right? That guy brings a presence to the room. And I think that's why they brought him in. The biggest problem in Buffalo is, I think, their leadership. If you can you name me anyone who's a strong leader in that room?
Jack Eichel. I don't
And I don't even want to. Some people will blame Jack Eichel. I mean, he plays for a team that before they even drafted him, they gave off the impression that he was a consolation prize. And again, he is how old?
22? 23.
He's that young. He'll still be even. I know he has a big deal, but he'd still be an RFA for the next few years.
I remember the rumors before the draft before the draft lottery, everyone's like, "Oh, can you imagine Evander Kane playing with Connor McDavid in Buffalo?" That's why they made the trade for Evander Kane. I remember that.
it's I don't know who to blame, right? Like that's what it comes down to, because I think you can't put the blame on one person.
But I think Montreal. Sorry, Daniel. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I just kind of think like I don't want to say it this way, but like it's the issue of like the dead money on that team. To be honest, where I kind of feel that they just kind of dug deep into like the free agency pool or like the contracts when, you know, it was kind of expected. Like I admit, like any team that wanted scoring would do these moves.
Right.
It's just unfortunate how these happen. Like Kyle Pozo, I know like he has injury issues. It's just that's a really high cap hit for a long time.
Right.
And then Jeff Skinner kind of just resorting back to, I don't know, that like middle of the pack.
$9 million Jeff Skinner.
Yeah, he has 23 points this season.
The thing that confuses me, and I think this is why I think Buffalo does have potential, is that a team. How many games in a row did they win? 10, right? Mm-hmm. They did the same thing last year, and they hit a low point, and it's not even their lowest point. They hit a low point, and they can't bounce back up. That's the issue with this team. I think if you look at each individual player, I think they have a decent team. Mm-hmm. But when they hit a low point, and I'm sorry, obviously it's leadership, whether that's with the actual players themselves, whether that's with coaching, whether that's with management, whether that's with ownership. I think when it comes to leadership, I think you can put blame on each branch. You can put blame on ownership, can put blame on management, and you can most definitely put blame on coaching. And the captain.
I mean, it's hard to put. I don't know if I can blame Jack Eichel that much, because this is a franchise that has been dead in the water long before Jack Eichel got there. And I mean, it's more than, to me, it's a lot more than leadership. I mean, they don't have a goaltender. They haven't had one since Ryan Miller.
When he was younger.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we've disagreed on this deal on the show before, but like, I still am very strong that you blew the Ryan O'Reilly deal. Case of Middleset hasn't been good. I mean, besides Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel, Rasmus Dahlin, again, a few first overall top 5 picks there, who else have they really developed? And like, I definitely put a lot of blame on Botro, because again, you've been there for 4 years, and I mean, I don't think you've taken a step forward with the team.
Yeah.
Right.
What is it?
Absolutely.
What is it? Oh, yeah, he hasn't restocked the cupboards yet. That's been this ESPN article talked about it today, where just like there's no depth at Rochester.
And they have a lot of UFAs coming up. We'll move on from Buffalo, though, just because there's so much. And, of course, they will be a team to keep an eye out for, because, again, they have some work to do on the off-season, though. But amongst all, we'll start getting to real news coming out of Gary Bettman, especially yesterday. And the 1920 regular season, guys, is done. Yep. It's officially done. And at first, we all kind of saw, all right, so Draisaitl, he's got Art Ross. Pasternak, Ovechkin, sweet, there we go. They've got Maurice Richards, but then you think, oh, they've missed on 50. Holtby's a shutout away from setting a record for the Caps. But now it seems to say that the idea we're getting guys from like Elliot Friedman, that is, we don't exactly know what's going to happen with the stats from these qualifying round robin type games yet. So I'm like you guys, I'm hesitant to say something yet. And I guess instead of talking about those possible awards, again, also Halak and Tuukka Rask maybe getting the Jennings here, is maybe we could talk about where do you guys seeing these stats from these kind of in-between games going? Because I think it's a damn good question.
It's definitely an interesting point, and I think that was one of the things I got out of from Bettman's 15-minute press conference on Sportsnet. It's difficult to say, because if you look at it from this year, you look and say, okay, yes, let's say Crosby gets 10 points in the play-in round against Montreal, which is definitely possible, right? Like, players will put up points. Where do those points count this year? But when their career ends, what do those points look like? Does it say, you have regular season points, you have playoff points, and then you have that 1 year where you had to have a play-in round. What happens with those 10 points? And yes, they're insignificant, but what if Ovechkin was in the play-in round and he was 5 goals away from Gretzky and he had 6 goals in the play-in round? What happens then?
Oh, that's an interesting scenario,
right?
Yeah.
So,
man, yeah, that's a tough scenario.
In my opinion, I think we know as fans that this was a play-in round, but I really do think because they're really pushing the idea, or it seems to me that they're pushing the idea that this play-in round is not the playoffs. Just the way they word it, right? They call it the play-in round, then they call it the first round, then the second round. So it seems to me that it's quite clear that they're trying to push the idea that this play-in round is not the playoffs. So I think at the end of the day, those stats end up being put into regular season points. But I think as fans, we know that there's 10 points or there's 5 points or there's 7 points that, those were in that play-in round in the year 2020.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, what about you? Because just some stuff in front of me again. Ovechkin and Draisaitl just short of 50. Austin Matthews in there as well. Connor McDavid's at 97 points. Again, it's been talked about a lot with the Caps. Braden Holtby, who might not be a Capital next year, just short of the shutout record for them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Like, Alex brings up a lot of really good points where, I don't know, I just think about when you look now, like when we, with us, we always look at their stats through the years. So all these things, like, is there going to be like a separate subsection now that goes like play-in round or kind of thing? Or are we going to add that to something else? It is an interesting thing because it's like, in one way, this is so unprecedented where we don't know where this is going to go. But at the same time, too, it is kind of like those cutoffs with a lot of those guys where they wanted to like hit those marks.
Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't have a problem, you guys adding those points to regular season, right? I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, especially like I said, like the way the league is making it out to seem that, hey, this isn't the playoffs, this is the play-in round. I'm okay adding it to the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
It's like limbo in a way. It's like not quite the regular season, not quite the playoffs.
Yeah. More news from the commissioner. What a busy day. Let's take a second to say thank you to Donald Freer, president of the PA, NHL's deputy commissioner, Bill Daly, and Gary Bettman, commissioner. What a busy day for them, and all the work that the NHL and the PA have been doing to resume play. They're the first real, I think, North American big league to really start getting ahead on some stuff, so congratulations to the NHL. I love you guys. But we've been talking a lot about hub cities lately. Bettman put forth about 10 cities, I think it was, about potential hubs for the playoff, all these type of cities here. Even though apparently like the Cup final and that may be in home cities, but that's nothing quite confirmed yet. Like a lot of things.
All speculation.
Yeah. The 10 cities are probably trying to get one in the east and one in the west. Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Toronto, Vancouver, Pittsburgh, and one that seems to be a lock, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I guess if we can just say Vegas is a lock for the West, what do you do for an Eastern team? Because Canada's 14-day quarantine is probably a factor, and we need to remember Chicago is basically in the East as well.
So I'm just pulling this article up here for just 1 second, but pretty much it says Bill Daly wants to have a Canadian hub city, but it really does look like that 14-day isolation period could prevent that in a way. So for me, I'm thinking Trudeau isn't really, I don't think he's going to budge on it as much. If you look at the way Trump and Trudeau are kind of looking at the sports leagues, I think Trump is a little more open to saying, hey, we'll take the sports, whatever. Whereas Trudeau's like, listen, you have to do 14 days, that's it. And it's nothing against Trudeau, or it's, it's just the way it is, right? Like, we're in a very different time. This isn't normal. So for him to say that, I don't mind it at all. It's not like I'm going to watch a game.
Yeah.
Right? I'm watching it on my couch. So I really think Edmonton, Vancouver, and Toronto are kind of away from the pack. And to be honest, I don't think Toronto should be considered at all. I think it seemed like things were going well, and then just lately it seemed like things are kind of going backwards. No one knows what's really going on. It seemed very messy. Whereas, looking at Edmonton and Vancouver, I think British Columbia probably has handled it quite well. Of the three big provinces in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia, I really think British Columbia has handled it well.
Yeah.
If we're looking at the U.S., I think that's pretty much they're going to be playing all their games in the U.S. Las Vegas, for sure. I think Los Angeles might be an option too. Just looking at it, because obviously the NBA is really in with Disney about that idea and getting it playing at Disney World. I don't know, Disney World, Disneyland.
Mickey Mouse with the tip off.
Whichever one is in Florida, I believe.
Oh, Disney World.
I think there's one in LA too.
Yeah, that's the Disneyland. Yeah, that's
whatever one's in LA. That's one that they could consider as well. And
it's in Orange County. I remember.
It's close to Anaheim, is it not?
Yes, it's near the Honda Center.
Right, it's close to Anaheim. That's a potential option for them as well. I really think if they want to stick to somewhere in the East, Columbus seems to be an option, or Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they go Chicago though.
Small city though.
That's why I'm thinking about too,
a small city.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's not big.
I don't think they care if it's big or small. If they can house, and the thing is, so I think they had up to 50 people, right? That was kind of their max of personnel.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can do 50 times 12, that's 6. If they can house 600 players and personnel in a hotel, whether that has to be 1, 2, or multiple hotels, that's probably going to be the case. If you look at the cities on the list, what places are going to be able to fit 600 people in a hotel? Because everyone's going to have to be in their own room.
Hold on.
Las Vegas.
Daniel, what were you saying there? I feel like we interrupted you.
Oh, no, I was just saying I agree with Pittsburgh. It's like that kind of thing, too. It is small. What I kind of felt with it was it's a bit more low-key than, Toronto or something. I feel like what's been happening with Toronto recently with, a lot of this, I kind of roll back on things where there are people more going out. It's going to be another excuse for more people to come out, I think. So, I don't know how they're going to do that, to be honest. I am, agreeing with Alex here that, if it has to be in the West, all of it, I don't mind. It doesn't have to be, an East-West balance.
They're going to play games throughout the entire day. They're going to start at, noon, they're start at 10 a.m., and they're going to play until 11 o'clock at night.
Plus, let's be honest. If they need to move a game a little bit earlier in Western time to fit the East, I think they're going to do it.
They don't have... No one's going to watch. No one's in the... no one has to go watch this game in person.
I'm just saying, though, for, the people... there are going to be those people in the East that say, I don't want to stay up to this. Well guys, let's be honest. Listen, they're going to make it...
If they're going to... The West games, I wouldn't be surprised if what they do in the West is... Usually they have that 10 o'clock game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be 7 p.m. On the West Coast, right? They can do that.
Yeah.
With the West. But for the East, you're going to play earlier times.
I mean, hey, well, it's going to be more speculation for that second city because Vegas, obviously, when we look at facilities, Vegas is easily the best one to house, large groups of people. I don't think anyone's going to complain about staying in a Vegas hotel.
They can fit everyone in one hotel.
But do you want to fit anyone in one hotel? I don't think you want to do that.
I think that would be the case, though.
I think the safer option is to not do that, though. Because again, these are still sweaty boys.
I know.
Love to be They're gonna spin on the ice and all this kind of stuff. I feel like I think it's Vegas. There's plenty of hotels.
Right, but what the issue is that hotel has to be shut down. So let's say they go the MGM and the Bellagio. Sure, they split it 300, but let's say they have 300 more rooms in each hotel. No one can stay in that hotel except for NHL personnel. I don't think the hotels would be happy with that.
But then if you have everyone in one hotel, there's that much greater a risk of
The UFC did it.
Contamination. Yeah, but I think it's a lot more staff to do with the NHL.
No, but if each person has their own room, which is how I believe the UFC did it, and the UFC, no one. That's why. Like the thing is, we're doing all this speculation, and we have zero. Like their phase 4, which is going to the hub cities, isn't finalized, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest issue. That because obviously we don't know that, we don't know what it is. I think it's an issue that we don't know it, but we'll know it eventually.
Hey, as Tim and Sid and Emily Freeman said on Tim and Sid yesterday, at least we're having a sport debate. Right. It looks like that the NHL, their next phase 3 of return to play, seems to be going on. Phase 2, sorry. It's really going into action now. And one of the bigger headlines was it looks like the league are aiming to have training camps at the mid to late July mark. I think Bettman said flat out, before July 1st, is not happening. So that means it's a fair enough guess that playoffs in August. And we also know that it looks like each team will have 2 exhibition games before starting the qualifier. I believe that was from Elliot Friedman as well. Of the many big sources, Friedman was the bigger one.
Love the beard, by the way. He showing off.
It's going. They asked him, "Hey, you want to cut it down?" He's like, "Oh, I'm on summer vacation." No. It's a mop. It is a mop, a dirty mop. But I love it.
Yeah, I think the phase 2, I think, is going to be a very interesting thing that they're going to have to deal with, especially for those Canadian teams. Looking at there's players who have to come from Sweden, like they have to come from Europe, correct? Right? So what happens, let's say William Nylander. I'm going to use him as an example. There's lots of players that we can use as an example. I'm just using him. He's
nice sleeve, by the way.
Thank you. He's in Sweden right now. He has to come back and wait 14 days before he can start participating in practice or in these mini camps. I think this was kind of rumored, talked about, nothing confirmed. But hey, if you know where the hub cities are, and we're pretty sure it's not going to be in Canada, why don't we send Toronto to their hub city, or 5 players plus Nylander, or take all the players from Europe and send them to your hub city, and they can practice there.
By the way, one thing I forgot to mention, this is a tweet from Pierre Lebrun. Bettman says the league probably needs to decide on the 2 hub cities within 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, that is what I believe Bettman said as well.
Hey, perfect.
So that's something I think they should talk about, especially for those Canadian teams who have European players coming back. Mm-hmm. And saying, hey, we're having training camp now. But now what happens is those European players come back and have to wait an extra 2 weeks before starting practice. Mm-hmm. So it's something they should look at.
Yeah. Daniel, does it put a smile on your face knowing that we've taken another step here? And we're gonna get some exhibition games. Looks like we're gonna get a training camp. How do you feel knowing we've taken another little step forward? A lot to work out, but it's another step.
This is pretty funny. 2 things. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. So the first thing, every time we say phase 2 or phase, I just think of the Marvel movies, to be honest.
Same.
Yeah, it's like we're entering phase 2. I don't know. It's exciting time. It's hard to it's like a self-contained kind of thing where there's so many like. I guess on the surface, you are happy that these things are opening up. At the same time, too, you kind of hold things back because same thing like what Alex says. There's so many factors to think about when you have so many players like from all around the world who are comprising of your team, and they've been in their home countries for quite some time. A second thing too is just, I don't know, like I know that we like talk about these things that we love, all this stuff, like all the sports stuff, but like it's just kind of like things haven't opened up the way people think it has. I think that sometimes you get excited when these announcements come up, or it's at the same time too when like the weather's getting better. We've had that issue already with Trinity Bellwoods that
Oh yeah.
people are anxious and they want to kind of move on with these things, but like I always gotta take it with a grain of salt, going like thinking that we need to kind of still take all these precautions. Like I'm all for hockey coming back, but I just want it to be done properly.
Right, for sure.
Fair enough.
And I think that's a lot of people's concerns. I was listening to SDP, the one that came out yesterday, and I think that was their biggest concern, right? And I think not just their podcast, I think most people are saying the same thing. Like, as long as they can get it done safely.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the biggest concern for a lot of leagues. And right now, all we're kind of seeing is leagues saying, hey, this is how we're going to set up our league when we come back. But they haven't really said anything about how they're going to do it safely. And I don't necessarily see that as a problem. I think right now it's good that they have a plan in place. Right? I think Bettman was clear. Like, we're not coming back until, number one, we're told it's safe to come back, and number two, when we have a plan in place when it comes to testing and things along those lines.
Yeah. I just have like this hypothetical thing in my mind where I think about where, okay, number one, the really warm, nice weather. Second, like these two, like, Montreal and Toronto, like, hockey deprived big market cities, right? What happens if one of these teams wins like a really crucial round playoffs? Are you gonna stop people from coming?
I'll cry.
Yeah, that.
Oh,
Plus,
man.
are you gonna stop crowds from coming out, like celebrating that?
Yes.
You will try.
You
It's
will
just
definitely try. There's going to be a lot of... So,
It's gonna be insane.
last year, I remember the biggest headline when the Raptors won the conference finals and then won the finals was that no one was arrested. I don't know why that was the biggest headline, but it was a headline.
Mm-hmm.
in regards to the parade.
In regards to the parade. Sorry, in regards to the parade and people... No, but even the night before, right? Like, even the night they won and people were going crazy in the streets, no one was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
If the Leafs make it to the Cup final, or the Canadians make it to the Cup final, there will be lots of arrests.
Yeah.
Because everyone will be breaking social distancing. Except me. I will be in my home. I might go on my street and start screaming and crying. I don't know. Maybe I'll call you guys. We're going to have to do an emergency podcast. It's just going to be too much.
So celebrate with our not so sponsor, Golden Star. Yeah.
201 podcast. Listen, we like talking about hockey, but sometimes you get a little hungry. Why not order Golden Star?
Oh my god.
Good burger. So guys,
we can actually ask them for sponsorship. We should.
Why not? We'll go for it, eh? I mean, hey, here we are. We're taking this water break, trying to, get the transitions going. But we'll stick on the note when it comes to the playoffs because we've gotten motorcycles. I hate them so much, especially driving because it's like they're gonna vroom, man. Jesus Christ. Well, I'm going to ask each of you about a certain team because, again, sorry to repeat myself, sticking on the playoff note, we've got a bit more information about 24 team stuff. We figured out that, or not figured out, but we had word that the vote was 29-2 from the NHLPA. We figured out who those two teams are who voted no, that being Carolina and Tampa Bay. So I want each of you I'm going to give one of you a team, and I want you guys to just tell me probably why they don't want this format and probably how it's affecting them in their current situation. So which of you would like Tampa and who wants Carolina?
I'll take Carolina.
Okay, I'll take,
All right, then how about Alex? Start with Carolina, just because they are a team going to have a more in a more important series to start their playoff with the New York Rangers, of course, the hottest team, probably going into the break, them or for the Flyers, I'd say.
Yeah, so there's two tweets I have here. One's from Sarah Sivian from The Athletic. Well, they're both from The Athletic. Just this one is from Sarah Sivian. Jordan Martinick, who is the team rep, just confirmed the Canes were one of the two teams to vote against the 2014 return to play format. Doesn't necessarily think it gives the Canes the best odds to win the cup and gives some of the fringier teams an advantage, but they are prepared to move forward. Then Michael Russo, who we all love because this guy just gives the best stories about Minnesota. This is the god who gave us the Paul Fenton article. He retweeted it and said Canes went from 80% chance to make the playoffs to a coin flip versus a New York Rangers team that was 4-0 against them. Lots of teams felt there was some inequity. Carolina just had the fortitude to vote against it, but it was never that the Canes didn't want to play. So I also happen to have the reason why the Lightning didn't vote for it, and I think I'm not going to explain it, but I think what this explanation makes total sense to me. Saying, hey, we don't think it's fair for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, Daniel, why didn't Tampa?
Yeah, Alex. Oh, sorry, Adam.
No, sorry. I spilled some water. So for those of you watching on the YouTube, you're probably gonna have a very funny thing of me. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, this is a Tampa Bay team who, got humiliated last year, and so take it away with why would Tampa probably vote no? How does this affect them?
Yeah, their team representative Alex Killorn, he talked about it too. This was an interview with The Athletic he had over the weekend. He said that they didn't feel it was fair that certain teams that probably wouldn't have made the playoffs would have a chance to make the playoffs in a best-of-5 series. And this is him talking. He says, my team also felt it was unfair that the teams with a bye would not be as well prepared for a playoff series as the teams that have already basically played a playoff series to get into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. It's kind of an interesting thing where, he talks about, two things we talk about, the whole Columbus debacle last year, where they were easily defeated in a sweep, but at the same time too, it just I don't know how to feel. I think about international tournaments where there's always eyes, or the top seed always moves forward without playing that extra game. It's I don't know. It's just kind of something that you kind of you adjust with. That if you already have the confidence in your team that you're already going through the training camps, you already had the exhibitions. You're already having your practices in between these best-of-5 series. I expect that you're still going to be team ready for whoever you face.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm so confused at what he's saying, because the whole I could be completely wrong here, and what his role is as the team representative. Is he not looking out for the best interest of his team? Is that not his job?
Yeah.
So why does it matter that other teams aren't getting aren't in? I don't understand.
I think it's it's just for me personally, this is the beauty of the game for hockey, where even no matter what the format was, there's always going to be a certain degree of parity.
Right.
So to kind of argue that, we're not going to be as prepared as the other team that had to actually go through the other series. I think they have the advantage.
But they are. They are going to be prepared. The whole point of the round robin system of going 1 to 4 is so that they're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably
every team has 2 exhibition games.
It's
too.
probably the smartest thing the NHL added in saying, "Hey, we're gonna have a 2014 playoff format, and this is how we're gonna do it." But when you first look at it, those 4 teams aren't playing a series. Well, hey, let's throw in you're all going to play at least 3 games. You're going to play 3 games against each other. Whoever has the most points gets the first seed.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that there's a bit of insecurity for Tampa Bay there, or am I reading too much into it?
I don't think they don't see their advantage. I think where, like, this is gonna be playoff hockey. Like the team that has to go through like the best, like the first like seeding. It's just this is a team that's gonna be like, to be honest, they might be a little battered by that point.
Yeah.
That I think what Tampa's kind of gained in the regular season with their seeding is that's what they kind of come in with, where they're gonna have fresh legs.
Yeah. Man, Tampa Bay. I mean, yeah, rough. At the end of it, I feel more bad for Carolina because Igor Shesterkin's rested. If not, Alexander Georgiev is there. Henrik Lundqvist is pretty good. Mika Zibanejad and Terry Panarin, a lot of really good players there.
Before we move on, just quickly, I meant to bring it up before, and I forgot. Buffalo was 0.8% away from making the playoffs.
Yep.
So yeah, how do you feel about Adam? about Montreal edging them?
I love it. I love it so much. Sorry, Will Christopoulos, but it sucks. But because the Sabres had 2 games in hand, right? At the same time, though, I don't feel bad for you because be better. I say that as
a 500 team.
An exactly 500 point percentage team. But no, it sucks for Buffalo, yeah. But hey, listen, I'm sorry. I really I'm not. I'm sorry. My team has a chance. Yours doesn't. I'm sorry. That's what I have to say. But again, some more stuff on the playoff stuff. It seems I'm so sorry. My room is just. I have one of the rooms in the house where like the AC just doesn't give me anything. So like I'm either gonna sweat like hell, and I want it. If you're glistening, no one's listening, as Gary Gould would say. But one thing that looks like the league and the PA are definitely going to be banging heads about is about reseeding. And Brian Burke speculated on Tim and Sid. I think Elliot Friedman has said the same on the 31 Thoughts Quickie that was released last night, that the league are probably going to give in to the reseeding. So that means if there is a scenario where the Bruins are the first seed, and Columbus don't beat the Leafs and the Leafs move on to a real first round, that means the Bruins and the Leafs would not meet in a first round series, which I gotta think you guys are pretty happy about.
Yeah,
I'm very happy about it. And? Pardon?
As Alex is dancing?
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Oh, before we move on, sorry, I just saw it now. It was according to James Myrtle. Apparently, Nick Robertson will be part of the expanded roster for the Leafs.
Oh my God, that's hilarious!
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love it.
Because he was signed before, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was signed at the beginning of the year. I absolutely love it.
I can't wait to see the replies on that, by the way.
I think they're expanding the roster formats. I wrote it down. Where is it? Maybe I didn't write it down. I apologize. But I believe they can have 27 skaters. That includes 3 to 4 goalies.
Sweet. Hey, I mean, yeah, you're going to need it for this, right? I don't see a point in doing any sort of roster size. Last thing on the playoff format itself. We know now that for sure the Cup final and the Conference finals will be 7-game series when it comes to the first and second round. And I believe the play-in exactly, nothing is, I swear, is officially confirmed with those series lengths. But we know the Cup final, the conferences, will be 7 games. Sweet. Who doesn't love that?
Yeah. So, and then the round 1, round 2, and the play-in is best of 5 or best of 7?
I saw that like nothing is quite confirmed.
Yeah, they haven't decided if the play-in and the first 2 rounds are either best of 5, best of 7. I'm guessing that it just depends on when they start.
Yeah. Speaking of starting, there we go. The NHL seems to be looking at starting the 2021 season late as December, maybe even January.
Yep.
And the Bettman made a really funny joke. I don't know where it was, but of starting with the Winter Classic. So what I got to ask you guys is, are you excited to start the 2021 season with an outdoor game between the Kings and the Blackhawks?
I am definitely excited to see that.
That's cool.
You
Yeah.
mean the reigning Cup champions, the Chicago Blackhawks, because
I
they
know.
will go on to win the Stanley Cup, of course.
I mean, they reacquired Andrew Shaw, so
Exactly. Who are they
Bring back
missing?
the
Who
boys.
are they missing though? Who are they
Oh.
missing from the big Cup runs?
Lad's gone again.
True.
Uh,
Dustin
Lindsay Brooke for
Bufflin.
the year.
Dustin Bufflin.
Yeah.
Hey,
Marian Hossa.
Hossa? Bring him back as a consultant or something. I don't know. Yeah, I wonder if you...
So I was just going to comment on what you're saying. I think it's it makes sense. My guess is I think they're going to push it as far as they can until they want to have fans in seats at the start of the 2020-2021 season. And I think they're going to push it as far back as they can to get that. And I don't know if we're going to have that in January. I think that's what people are talking about. And I think certain things have to go right for that to happen. But, and I'm kind of going a little bit off point here, but I don't think we had this written down. I think this changes a lot for what for next season and the season after that looks like. Because so next season, let's say they start in January, they don't play the All-Star game scrapped. That's absolutely out of the question. But if what Bettman's saying is true and he wants to have an 82 game schedule next year, I still think it's going to go from January. It's most definitely going to go past June, probably into July, maybe the beginning of August. And you're going to have a smaller off season. They are not. I'm telling you, I don't think they're going to the Olympics in 2022 because it affects next season in 2020-2021 because they're starting in January. So it'd just be the 2021 season. And then you start again in October and give them 2 months off? You're telling me you're willingly going to let them go to the Olympics after just playing hockey consistently for a year straight?
Yeah,
unfortunate fact, but I could see that being a possibility. Another excuse, not an excuse, but another reason we're going to say, yeah, don't send the guys this time. Especially, I remember, when I was younger, I never used to understand, why is this such a big deal? And then I think when it was Shea Weber's, the insurance they had on his contract before he went to the World Champ, when I think the Montreal prevented him from going to the World Championships because it was just way too much. He was coming off injury, and he wanted to play for Canada, and they're no, we can't afford it.
Hey, Shea Weber, his leg, one bad thing to his knee, and that guy.
In my opinion, I think a lot of people forget that the NHL is a business.
Yeah,
and it's not just a game. We see hockey as a game, right? In a way, you get in that sense, hey, we're watching hockey. Hockey's a sport. They're just playing a game. But I think we sometimes we forget that the NHL is a business that needs to make money and is trying to limit their costs, like any business.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I remember, I believe it was Garth Snow when he was the GM of the Islanders in 2014. Remember when, I think the Islanders were in a playoff spot and they were actually selling tickets pretty well.
Yeah.
And John Tavares breaks his leg at the Olympics, and then they plummet in the standings and they lose money from the ticket sales. So it's another factor to consider as well with this.
Sure. We're gonna have a lot of Olympic talks. Then, I guarantee you. And
another hypothetical lineup? We should build another one.
Probably.
We're still doing redrafts, all right? Let's calm down here, all right? Let me read you guys a tweet from Rick Westhead. Bettman says NHL may process as many as 30,000 COVID-19 tests during the playoffs, which will cost the NHL millions. Again, infectious disease experts say this misses the point. The NHL buying may drive up prices for others and could impact lab processing times. And we talked about this a bit before the show started.
Yeah.
Alex, you brought up some good points there, so why don't you mention them now?
So before, for the prep for the show, obviously I was just listening to half the things that Gary Bettman and Bill Daly were talking about. I didn't get to finish it, but the media call right after the press conference, his 15 minutes on Sportsnet, one of the questions was actually about testing, and they were talking about the rigorous testing that's going to be happening, right? You brought up 25,000 to 30,000 tests. The officials that they're talking to are saying, listen, by the time you're doing this, it seems that amount of tests will be not useless, but it will be like, man, they're doing so much testing that those don't matter as much, right? And I guess that makes sense to me, because look at what was happening on Ontario over the last 2 months. Like, you look at how many tests they could do a day at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of this whole situation, middle March, and now we're at the end of May. So it's been 2.5 months, and we can process we can do 20,000 tests a day. I think that's a big increase. Like, I think it was about 5,000, now it's 20,000. That's a big increase, and I think that's just going to that will continue to grow over time. And it's not like the NHL is going to buy tests tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's not what the plan is. I think the plan is, hey, we're going to open up phase 1, and or phase 2, their teams are supposed to deal with the testing. And the league will get involved if the team can't get that done. And the same goes for phase 3. When the full training camps start, the team is responsible for it. Then phase 4 is when the NHL is going to, I'm assuming, bulk buy all these tests. But at that point, what will 25 to 30,000 tests be to how much tests are being created a day?
I think it's a lot of questions still, because I remember seeing on the news that the Ford government is still looking at alternative ways to test, and we don't know what a second wave will look like, if there is a second wave, and
right.
opinion, there's probably going to be a second wave. But
right.
what I really wanted to ask you guys about is the U.S. were giving a bit of exceptions to athletes, and Canada seems to be staying quite firm on the fact that the 14-day quarantine needs to happen. Are you at all worried, because I definitely am, that the states have opened the door for some exceptions for athletes when I don't think you should be?
If they can do it safely, and it seems like that's what, like, a lot of leagues are taking precautions, right? The UFC, they've upped how they're doing their testing. I can't remember how they're doing their testing off the top of my head, but they are doing more testing. That's my understanding. The Bundesliga started, and it seems like things have started well. The Premier League is just testing all their players in batches, and they're identifying who's positive, who's negative, and they're going to go from there. And, La Liga in Spain is going to do the same thing. If they can do it safely, then do it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, but what do you guys think of the idea of giving athletes special privileges, though?
Don't do it.
In what way? In letting them come back to...
Yeah. But Daniel, you say don't do it. Expand on that for me, please.
I think, we talked about it before, where there's all of these, it's not just these single athletes or anything. It's like these guys that they've been in other countries, for so long. They've been in other regions. It's just, don't waive anything. Just go through, the processes how you would for anybody, just to make sure everything is consistent.
But if you know if they get tested beforehand and they test negative, and you say, hey, you guys have all tested negative, you guys come back to the US or Canada, isolate for 14 days, which is what the government is telling you to do. The NHL is still saying you should isolate as much as you can, right? Which is basically saying stay at home unless you have to go get groceries. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Because at that point, you're confirming that they're all negative, and you're even taking the extra precaution and saying, hey, you've been to Sweden, you go directly to your house, you go directly to where you were living before, stay there for the 14 days, which is what the government and medical officials are saying is the time period where you will produce symptoms.
But how do you know you can track these athletes and that they will quarantine?
Well, how have they been doing it now?
I don't know. That's the problem. You can't track every single athlete over in the world, right? It's just impossible to do that, and you can't control them when they come over.
Well,
okay, for me, I just had this idea right now.
Sorry, go. I was gonna say, you tell the players, say, hey, you want to play hockey, you want to play basketball, you want to play soccer, you're gonna stay here. You're going to stay here for 14 days. If not, no hockey, because that's what's going to happen.
Oh, my idea was just kind of like you regulate these things like the same way you would like a urine sample when you're in training camp, kind of thing, where it's just kind of like everybody's all doing this at like one time. Because like, I don't know, like I think it's like a kind of thing I think about with everybody, where you could tell these people like, you know, don't go out to do all these things, but it is going to be a lot to manage with these many players.
It's going to be difficult. I mean, people are queuing hours to go to Red Lobster in the States. Look what happened in Toronto the moment they got some leeway. It's going to be a difficult challenge. But we one last thing before we get to the draft lottery, though. Alex.
Yeah.
Brandon Lemieux is still suspended.
Yeah, he
Not
is.
Mario.
Not Mario.
Not Mario, no. Mario is not suspended. Brandon Lemieux is suspended, guys.
Did they determine how many games? I forgot.
No. They said once we figure out what's going on, we'll give him games, but he'll get games because he's Brandon Lemieux, but he doesn't.
Will he
there's
though?
No games yet.
Will he though?
Man, I wouldn't be surprised if they forgot. I really wouldn't. I don't remember what he did. All I know is it was hearing worthy.
Yeah, it was. I don't think maybe they'll give him a game or two.
Is he Excuse me. Is he Claude Lemieux's son?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
They play the same way.
Yeah. I was about to say the apple didn't fall far from the tree, did it, guys?
No.
All right, we've got two things to talk about here. Actually, three main things. Okay. Somehow we haven't mentioned the fact that the draft lottery was really the idea for the draft lottery came out yesterday. It's super complicated, but Alex, I think you have put it together in a way I think we're all going to understand. If not, we're all going to question and get confused together. But three minds is better than one.
Yes. So just to start, considering the circumstances, I think I disagree with the idea that you have the 8 teams in the 8 teams that lost in the draft lottery, but that's just me being very, very picky. That's just me being very picky. So there's going to be 15 teams, just like usual, that take part in the NHL draft lottery. So the teams 1 to 7, obviously by points percentage. So Detroit, who's team number 1, 18.5%. Ottawa, pardon?
I could have sworn they were Detroit. I didn't know they were last by points percentage. Oh no!
They had 27.5 of the points they could have gotten this year. Okay. So Detroit 18.5%, Ottawa 13.5%. Ottawa again this time from San Jose 11.5%, LA 9.5%, Anaheim 8.5%, New Jersey 7.5%, and Buffalo 6.5%. So those are teams 1 to 7. Now you're probably wondering.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing at Detroit at 22% of their points.
That's why I said, yeah.
Sorry, continue.
You're probably wondering what the hell happens to the other 8 teams. So they classify them as placeholders, team A to H. A is 6%, B is 5%, C 3.5%, D 3%, E 2.5%, F 2%, G 1.5%, H 1%. So it should add up to 100 in total. If it doesn't, let me know. I maybe I wrote it down wrong, but I'm 99% sure that's right. So, if a team from bracket A to H wins pick 1, 2, or 3, a second lottery has to happen, which will determine which team from bracket A to H will win that specific pick. And if that's the case, all teams from A to H have a 12.5% chance of winning that specific pick. Let's use an example. Let's say pick 1, they're doing the lottery, and team C happens to come out and say team C is the winner. What would happen? So we'd have to have a second lottery after the play-in round. And what would happen is team A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, those would all be filled out now because the play-in round has happened. So those teams, the 8 teams that lost, would be put into that place. Each team now has 12.5% chance of getting that first overall pick.
That's crazy.
Does that make sense?
That's like...
Kinda.
Okay, what doesn't make sense?
What happens if all 3 of the lottery picks go to a team in the qualifying round? Is there just one more lottery?
Yeah, so so there's going to be a second draft, like there's going to be a phase 2 draft lottery. And then what would happen is similar to what would happen in a regular draft, the regular draft lottery, where, okay, let's say Detroit does get the first overall pick. Then the odds would switch, and I couldn't find what the odds would switch to if, let's say, Detroit gets the second pick. So what are the chances Ottawa gets the second overall pick with their own pick? Right, so those shift, right? So Ottawa, then it's kind of, I don't know the percentages off the top of my head. So at that point, let's say all 3 picks were from team A to H, hypothetically. Let's say team A gets the first overall pick. Then the percentages would shift so that all the teams have equal odds of getting the second. And then again, the odds would shift that all teams have the same all the teams remaining have the same percentage of getting the third overall pick.
Okay, question.
I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but that's to the best of my knowledge.
So what determines which team is A through H when they get eliminated?
Points percentage.
Points percentage.
In the regular season.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay, Daniel?
I get it.
Yeah, a lot to kind of think about. I don't really have too many questions. There's a lot to kind of take in right now with everything. So, yeah, I'll get back to you on future episodes with this one.
The only issue I have with this, and to be honest, it's one issue, it's very simple, is that I would rather wait until after the play-in round to do the draft lottery, because then you can slot in teams A to H. Because right now, what they're saying is, all the teams A to H have a 3% chance of getting the first overall pick when you do the math. When you do the math that I don't understand. When you boil it down, apparently it turns out to be 3%.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think I get it. Like, I think it's good.
I understand. It's just like, I think the more in-depth things, I just have to, like, I kind of refresh myself with this more as, like, they kind of figure it out.
I love how it's a scenario that, and this is what people have been talking about. Montreal could beat the Penguins, and there's a good chance the Penguins could get the first overall pick, or a lottery pick.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. I mean, and the lotteries have been wild over the past few years.
Yeah,
you know,
they're
guys,
a lottery.
Philly moving up to 2, despite having a 1% chance, I think, because they were the team that just missed out.
Yeah.
Dallas moving up to get Heiskanen a few years ago. New Jersey winning it twice because they had Taylor Hall on their team.
The power of Taylor Hall.
Mm-hmm. The ultimate loser once he got to the show. Just saying. I get it. I get it.
Okay.
I get it. It's good. It's creative as well.
Yeah, and I think we should give the NHL credit for that because I think they worked around a couple of the issues. I really think they did. I think one of the issues that Adam and I talked about, I don't remember if we talked about it on the podcast, but what are they going to do with those conditional picks?
Yeah.
Right? And I think they've kind of made that clear. They made it clear that, hey, the first round is not the playoffs. The play-in is not the playoffs. So if your team makes it to round 1, that is considered the playoffs. So let's say if the condition of the first round pick is you make the playoffs, well, if you lose in round 1 in the play-in round, that pick does not get transferred.
Mm-hmm. It goes to the next. I think let's think about. I think that's the condition of the Vancouver pick, right? Yeah.
Is it?
I think so.
Or is it top 3? Or is that the Toronto pick?
Oh yeah. Well,
I think the Toronto pick is like Carolina gives either the lower pick between them and Toronto for Brady Shea. Yeah.
But I think the Toronto pick is conditional as well. If it's either this year or next year. I think if Toronto gets a top 3 pick or top 10. No, it's top 10. If Toronto gets a top 10 pick, they give next year's first round. They can give next year's first round pick instead.
Okay, so if the Canucks miss the playoffs in 2020,
right,
the first rounder is moved to 2021.
So if Vancouver loses in the first round to Minnesota, the play-in round to Minnesota, then that pick is not given to is it to Tampa or New Jersey? Where did it go?
To New Jersey, because it was the Blake Coleman trade.
To New Jersey.
Yeah.
If they make the playoffs, it is given to New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, that's not terrible.
They fixed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somewhat. They might run into issues if the first and second round of the playoffs turns into a best of 5. Then there's certain conditions on games played and stuff like especially games played in the playoffs where they might have a couple issues.
Yeah, that's going to be and then let's say I don't know if there is a specific condition, but like getting a certain amount of points, and then that's another question about the play-in round and about like where would those points go. It's just even more of a big question mark.
Right.
Yeah, this is just something else, isn't it? This whole again, yeah, like you said, kudos to the NHL for really, for like we always want the league to be a bit more creative, right? And it really feels like they've done that with this format and the 2014 playoff stuff as well as the draft lottery. And I think it's as fair as we could hope for it to be, you know?
Yes.
This could have been a complete mess. You could have had all of the teams, like of the 24, like those outside teams be in it, but they didn't do that. They were smart about it, which I really appreciate from the league. And they weren't silly of like saying, like my very wild idea for my playoff format, everyone else has the same amount of odds to win. They didn't do anything too hokey like that. So a lot of respect to the league for doing that, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, giving the league credit. It feels weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, they actually done a pretty good job with all of this. It's a lot to kind of like take in, but at the same time too, like it's been kind of a process where they're trying to make it as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
For sure.
A lot of like wiggle room to kind of, amend things as they go.
Another big point mentioned about all of this is the PR for the NHL and all this. That they really are, the MLB and NFL seasons are a bit of a different case, and I think all we know so far for the NBA is that they are playing in Disney.
It's all but confirmed.
Yeah, and now the NHL has kind of been the first of the big four to really come out and be like, this is our plan. And as Elliot said on Timmins says, well, his timeline was full of NHL news, and I love that stuff. It's great for the game too. Lots of eyes on it, which is what they need.
Yeah, I think the NBA took a little bit of a different approach than the NHL in saying, hey, let's decide where we're going to play. And they've been kind of quietly talking about how they're going to play. Now I think they kind of came out and said, hey, why don't we try this format? Why don't we try that format and see kind of what gets across? I think they were talking about doing 1-16, which would be absolute chaos, and I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be insane. Oh, my God.
I saw the Raptors run, and like if they did, I think it was 1-16. How much easier it would be? Like I think I saw they played Denver.
It
and
would.
I'm a big guy,
It'd be like Memphis, and then
It'd be Memphis, Denver, and then LeBron.
Laker. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I know LeBron's good.
They've had trouble with LeBron in the past.
Yeah, their first place year with Dwayne Casey.
Yeah.
That was
they got swept, did they not?
Yeah, the LeBronto year, right?
Yeah, because he was a free agent, was he? Right? That was LeBron's free agent year?
2006. No, 2000. Okay, so the first year they faced LeBron, they actually got it to 6 games in the conference finals.
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, look at this momentum. And then the next 2 years they got swept both times by LeBron.
No, but what year was his free agent year? It was
free agency
2018.
2018, yeah. That's before that correlated with him going to LA and then the Raptors getting Kawhi.
Yeah, he was running
when the
away.
East opened up.
He
Yeah,
was running
East
away
opened up
from Kawhi.
LeBron doesn't go to the West. Do the Raptors still win?
Yes.
Yes.
I see smiles on both your faces. Where's Will Bolden when you need him?
I think they do, but
I'm not going to go on record saying anything.
That team was literally just LeBron, right? The Cavs were just LeBron. They didn't have Kyrie.
They traded Kyrie.
Kevin Love was Kevin Love.
It's okay.
Tristan Thompson was dating Khloe Kardashian. That was
I'm hearing name Irving, LeBron.
Irving.
Kyrie.
Irving, whatever.
Irving.
Do we want to make some predictions on this 2014 play-in then?
Yeah.
And how about we just ignore the round robin for the top?
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Boston
finishes 4th.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, we were talking about the players and, how these regular season points are going to go. I forgot to mention that, Ovechkin doesn't get 50 and all that like we talked about, but Nathan McKinnon loses those last few games that I knew he was going to use to catch up on Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
I want to take a moment of silence for Nathan McKinnon and the season. I'm sorry, Nate. Another season we won't be able to hit 100 points, which is very annoying. Playoffs. Woo, Alex, you have it in front of you, do you not?
Yeah.
All right.
1 second here.
We're getting the waiting music. Oh, my lightsaber's going to be here tomorrow, guys.
Awesome.
Oh, that's just spectacular.
It's funny you just said it, sorry.
Okay, here's the playoffs. You want to do the East or the West?
Let's start with the West because it doesn't matter as much.
Okay. Matchup number 1. The 2 Canadian teams. Calgary versus Winnipeg.
Man, I was watching this video that Sportsnet put up of because they've been doing all the preview for the series, and they had Sean Reynolds, who's probably like my most underrated member of Sportsnet.
Yeah.
Who does the ringside for Winnipeg. It had I forget, Ryan Leslie, who does Calgary, and had some pretty had a rough tweet earlier in the year about one of the cheerleaders at a Dallas game. If you guys remember that, I do.
Oh.
And then Ken Reed, former Habs fan who I love. Ken Reed. I actually have his book over there, and they were talking about it, and Ryan Leslie tried his best to try and sell the fact that the Flames could beat the Jets, and I'm not taking it for a second. No. Johnny Gaudreau is not clutch. He's never been. I don't see, and I don't believe in Big Save Dave or Cam Talbot. So, like, just for me, Winnipeg win this, no problem. Like, even if Laine's game is as bad as he's saying it is, by the way, his accent since being drafted is gone. But like, I was watching an interview with him, it's gone. But like, Winnipeg's winning this. I'm sorry. Like, I'll put money on it.
Sorry, I missed. You cut out there for the last part. What'd you say?
I'll put money on it that Winnipeg win.
Oh yeah, Connor Hellebuck stands on his head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, they did bring in Dylan DeMello. I think that was kind of their big addition at the deadline. And he seems like everyone loves him, right? Paul Maurice absolutely loves him.
Quote of the year.
Quote of the year. And, Patrick Laine, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Nikolai Ehlers, Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk. Like,
they're
man,
more like... Yeah.
I really think like this is a big matchup that I think it goes the distance, but I think Connor Hellebuck stands on his head.
You forgot Milan Lucic, by the way.
Stop it.
I know we were talking about the Jet Stars, but like Milan Lucic, guys.
Buyout candidate Milan Lucic. I don't feel bad.
I actually agree with this lineup. I agree with you guys as well. I feel like Winnipeg is a more complete team, in my opinion. I know their defense has been a lot of spotty this year, but I feel like they're more of a determined team, together. Calgary sometimes even when they've made these trades, it's some guy here and there doesn't fit as well as you think they would, or this guy's not going to perform as you think he will. We talked about Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan. I don't think he showed that he could be a top tier center. He'll be for sure top 6, but I don't know.
Don't forget about Leafs wannabe, Mike Babcock lover, Noah Hannafin.
Of course, yes.
Are we? You know what's really funny? Remember I told you guys I was listening to old episodes?
Yeah.
I remember there's a clip where I said, man, the moment I said Sean Monahan was underrated, he started tanking, and now everyone's like, no, he's not that good. And I'm really... And for anyone that's trying to say Gaudreau had a good goal in the World Cup a few years ago, let's not forget the penalty shot he whiffed on in the same game versus Sweden. I remember it.
Let's not forget that was 4 years ago. Okay, get over
it. What's he doing? He disappears in the playoffs. He's overrated. That's it.
Yo, take the heat.
We'll take you on Montreal though.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, matchup number 2, and I think this is a easy pick, but some people would disagree. The Edmonton Oilers versus the Chicago Blackhawks.
Ooh.
I think it's an easy Edmonton Oilers pick right here. Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Do I have to say anyone else?
I don't know. No. Andrew Shaw. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think, the Oilers are going to take it the way they've been able to kind of regroup this year. But it's just, for me, this is going to be fun. Just seeing Patrick Kane against, Draisaitl or McDavid. It's just going to be just... No, we'll just keep it that. It's going to be fun.
I think Taves and Kane and DeBrincat do give them a little bit of a pain.
Yeah.
Or a little bit of a pain. But, McDavid and Draisaitl alone, let's not forget to mention, Kyler Yamamoto, Tyler Ennis have been an a beast. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. That defense, I'm sorry, not good. And Corey Crawford is not the Corey Crawford of those cup-winning years.
Yeah. Do we expect, I don't know, this is what I've just been thinking of. Do we expect a lot of 7-6 games? Both of their defenses like really shoddy.
I don't think Edmonton's defense is as shoddy as people think.
No.
And I think, despite me trashing on them the entire year, that's just because Edmonton fans are just the worst. Their goal, like Koskinen, has kind of held up.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder how much of that is their system from Dave Tippett. I wonder that, like, if it's the Barry Trotz effect. How good of a goalie really is Thomas Greiss?
But the difference between the Barry Trotz and Dave Tippett system is that, yes, they play good defensively. Like, we've seen Darnell Nurse, we've seen Ethan Bear, we've seen those, like, even when Clefbaum was playing, and even Larson take that step defensively that the last few years we have not seen. But Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, like, their offense is just murdering people. Right? That's, I think, the difference. And I think that will show in this series.
That's fair. I'm going to go the same. I've been thinking about this series a lot more than I probably should be. And man, there's one thing that never escapes my mind, is that I can't wait to see Connor and Leon turn it on, because this is a real redemption year for them.
Yeah.
And one time we saw them in the playoffs, Draisaitl was the better player, and I think Leon, and that's what got him his deal, right? And Connor is the best player in the world. So I think it's going to underratedly be a fun series, because again, Kane, Taves, all those kind of guys. Kubalik, those guys we haven't talked about. So I think it's going to be fun. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Oilers too, because again, Koskinen and Mike Smith has surprisingly had some good games, which is terrifying.
Quickly before we move on, so you know how we said Nick Robertson's going to be on the Leafs expanded roster?
Wait, before you did? You did? Just in case you did?
What?
What?
You said, just in case, because I'm just covering, you said Nick Robertson was going to be on. Or that you quoted a tweet.
Daniel,
I did.
No, Daniel did.
I did. From James Myrtle, yes.
Yeah.
So Chris Johnson tweeted it as well, and Berkshire retweeted it and said added depth on D, and then tagged Steve Dangle.
No, wait. How exactly can he play, though?
Well, it's the same way college free agents can play.
But he wasn't a college free agent, though. Because he was playing CHL.
But because he signed to a pro contract and the CHL is canceled, right? Like, what usually happens is you see a lot of players go to the AHL, right? You see them sign those semi-pro deals.
Yeah.
The AHL contracts. And then they can play in the AHL. But since he's already... I'm assuming I don't know. It works. I don't know. I mean, I bet once the roster freeze is over, I bet if they wanted to, Cole Caulfield could sign a contract with the Canadians and play for the Canadians, but then he couldn't go back to college in September because the NCAA rules are messed up.
I don't think he'd be able to play because it's after the deadline. Because Robinson signed his ELC before.
That's true. You're right. Yeah.
I think that's anyway,
you're right. You're right.
We've been going. So, like, what's the next series?
Okay, Vancouver, Minnesota.
Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Sorry. Yeah, Vancouver.
Better goaltending.
Sorry, Minnesota.
Better start players.
Not too old.
Yeah.
I think Vancouver's I think Minnesota's defense can make it interesting, but I just don't know what they have offensively that could really make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for Minnesota.
No, you're not. Don't lie. Don't lie to the fans.
I want Vancouver to lose. Like, this is not a question. I'm rooting for Saku's brother.
Okay. Last West matchup, Nashville versus Arizona. Personally, I have Arizona winning this.
I don't know about you guys. I don't care about this series.
I'm interested to see what happens simply because I think they have Kemper back. And I think I think Taylor Hall knows he has to step up his game because he has not had a good season. And I think he steps up his game. Their defense, I believe Jarmelson will be back if he hasn't already been back. And that's a huge add to their defense. So I think Arizona squeaks by Nashville.
Arizona, yeah, I think they take it in 6 or 7.
It's out of
and
5.
Nashville
It's out of 5.
Out of 5. Sorry, out of 5, and I don't know. Nashville takes a good look at themselves. You're like, what do we have after the season?
Pekka Rinne was not Pekka Rinne this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like 37 now, right?
Yeah, he's old. As I have said on the show, Pekka Rinne is toast. But don't be surprised if I'm going with Arizona too, by the way. But don't be surprised if Nashville put up a fight because they still have Ellis, they still have Yossi, Philip Forsberg, and guys, Craig Smith
and Kyle Turris.
Is that a cricket I hear?
Pardon?
Is that a cricket I hear?
Yeah. Shall I move to the East? I'm going to assume that's a yes.
Yes.
Matchup number 1, Leafs versus Columbus.
I think this one made me laugh. I think Alex liked a tweet about this, and I saw it made me laugh. Where someone's like, it's like, don't sleep on Columbus, and they're like, yeah, like anyone would even say that if like, don't sleep on Detroit if it was the Red Wings in this like
I saw that.
situation.
It was I don't remember who it was. I saw another one. It's like, if you're playing the Leafs, hey, the Leafs are playing insert team here. Don't sleep on insert team here. It could be anyone, and someone will just absolutely trash the Leafs.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm used to it.
They're very different teams because, you've got the Leafs' star power, offensive ability. Then it's, the Blue Jackets, great defense. Don't really have a star. And had 2 no-name goaltenders be fantastic. When, the Leafs, Freddie Anderson's had a questionable year and they didn't have a good backup until they got Jack Campbell. I think this is going to be a very interesting series to watch, but I think ultimately Toronto should win.
Yeah, and I really think I listened to the quick Elliot Friedman, Jeff Merrick 31 Thoughts podcast, and I think it was on there. They were talking about, Columbus really has to work to get a goal.
Yes. That was Jeff Merrick, yeah.
Right? Columbus really has to work to get a goal, whereas Toronto, I think it comes a little easier to them, even if they have to play a tough defense, unless they're playing Carolina, then that just gets thrown out the window, apparently. I don't know. Something happened. I can't tell you. It's a secret. We probably had an episode on it. It's not a big deal. But I think it comes a little easier, and I think Toronto will win.
Would you guys be surprised if Columbus won, though?
I wouldn't, but I'd also be quite pissed off. I don't think I'd be on the show anymore. I'd have to get a new laptop, TV. I don't know. There's things in my house that would be broken.
Don't sleep on Gustav Nyquist. I don't know.
Oh, stop.
The girl, my God, yeah, don't even.
Okay, number 2, the Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Montreal Canadiens.
This will be a fun one for me too. I want to watch this one a lot.
Hold on.
Before Adam goes on, and
he's taking it off the wall.
If Carey Price goes on an absolute tear of a run, Montreal will give Pittsburgh a run for their money. But I still think Pittsburgh wins this one. I
think this one will go to 5. Nick Bouchstead, it was announced he's out for the season.
Yeah.
Another hit, I think, on Pittsburgh's depth, but we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know to speculate. Adam, how about you? How many games is this going?
For those of you who can't see, another reason you should check out the YouTube channel, I've just taken down one of the pictures in my room. I've got 2 words for you, baby. Carey Price. It happened in 2010 with Yaroslav Halak, but the Habs are upsetting the Penguins and they're going all the way. Let's go.
I don't know if Adam actually believes that or not. Aren't you the guy who told me don't doubt Sidney Crosby? Were you not the guy who told me that?
I am. But here's my reasoning.
Okay.
Yes, was the offense a problem when they lost Byron and June? Yes, but it's more than that.
Okay.
It has to do with they lost 2 players. No, don't just give me okay and roll your eyes.
I didn't roll my eyes. I'm listening.
With Druin and Byron leaving,
Yeah.
it wasn't just their production. It was that they are fast players, and that is the Habs' identity. For the first time since November, they are healthy, and yes, at the same time, so are the Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, Montreal is a team that can score by committee. They're one of the best 5-on-5 scoring teams.
Mm-hmm.
They have a solid right side. Petrie, Shea Weber, an Olympian. You could make him a Team Canada captain, not even a question.
Yeah.
Some great youth with guys like Victor Mete, great character guys on the back, like Brett Kulak, Kool-Aid, my good friend, as I call him. You got the guys who can play in the playoffs, like a Brendan Gallagher, Max Domi, who I know, I'm going a bit here, but Max Domi's never played in the playoffs. And you really think a player like that, who has excelled in the big stage in Montreal, is not going to turn on for the playoffs? Let's be honest, guys. He is. Arturi Lekkinen, a great young piece that, the Habs are auctioning off, playing paintball with him and Brendan Gallagher. That's a great young European player who broke Daniel Alfred's scoring playoff records overseas. All this type of stuff. Jonathan Druin will finally, when he came back from injury, he sprained his ankle right away, all this. He'll finally be healthy and continuing to play as he will. And again, Carey Price. The Montreal Canadiens are going to win this series.
I have 2 players for you.
Yes.
Sidney frickin' Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. That's it. Yep. That's all I have to say.
Yep.
And that changes everything.
Malkin's only good when Crosby's out.
That's not true. That
What?
is not true. So not true.
And Sidney Crosby is toast. You heard it here first.
Wow. I'm clipping that. That is Adam's.
Yeah. In the history of the playoffs, the Penguins have never beat the Habs.
How many times did they play the Habs?
Twice.
Yeah? When was that? In the 80s and 90s?
Alex, you're clearly not listening to me. As I mentioned, in 2010, the Montreal Canadiens beat the
No, I'm not listening to you.
a lot.
Because
But they don't have Chris Kunitz anymore.
You
I
just
don't know.
told me.
Big
You
factor.
just told me that Sidney Crosby is toast. So no, I'm not listening to you. You're right.
Okay. And as Daniel has said, the Penguins no longer have the winner, the most Hall of Fame worthy player in the Eastern Conference in Chris Kunitz. Who's Matt Murray?
Watch Matt Murray stand on his head this series just to prove Adam wrong.
Here's Carey Price standing on his head right now. Now let me just go hang this up quickly.
Okay. I'm going to move on to the next one. Probably the most boring series. The New York Islanders and the Florida Panthers.
I don't know.
I put,
The Islanders.
Win.
who? The Panthers?
The Panthers are going to win.
I said that too. I said the Panthers too.
I said Islanders because the Brady Trotz system. I think I don't know. They're the way their lineup is. I don't. Florida. It's kind of the same thing too. Florida doesn't seem like it's like Calgary to me. They don't seem like a complete team. They're still trying to figure out.
They're
who
not
they
a
are.
complete team. They said, "Hey, we need to find someone to play with Aaron Ekblad," and then they traded Vincent Trocheck and didn't get someone to play with Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah. Sergei Bobrovsky, I don't know. I don't trust him.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't
no.
trust him either. But Barkov, Huberdeau, Yandel, Ekblad.
The Islanders finished their season off very poorly. They since when getting Pajot, they just could not win. But you know what, Daniel? I think if there's any chance for the Islanders to pull it off, I think it's simply that Barry Trotz needs to look at Matt Barzal and Jordan Eberle and say, "Hey, do what you want."
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Let's move on to the last one. The Hurricanes and the Rangers. I think the Hurricanes are going to win.
Me too.
Why? Why don't it?
We've talked about it before. Their defense is so rock solid, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I just think about these teams, like, they've been away for so long. These are guys already that have been playing together for a while, and it's with the Rangers. I kind of feel like this is a year of not competing, but a year of patchwork in a way. Where
a step forward, maybe.
It's the kind of thing where like they gather the materials or the players and they try to build a team, but for later on, not for this year. Like like they have Panarin, who's like he's gonna dominate wherever he goes, but they're still trying to figure out, okay, who are these guys we have? Like they had like Jacob Trouba, Capo Caco is still kind of figuring things out. They want to know who their goalie is gonna be for this. I don't know, like I just don't trust Ryan Strome on the second line.
That's very fair.
I just absolutely love Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's not to love about them? I mean, the most likable goalie in the league. Well, second most likable goalie in the league. You've got the offensive weapons: Aho, Svechnikov. I can't remember his name. I'm gonna know it in a second though. The Finnish guy from Chicago.
Teuvo Teravainen.
Their defense is ridiculous, and they're still waiting on Vatanen and Dougie Hamilton to come back. I mean, they're just a really good team. And I agree with you very much there, Daniels. I wonder if next year doesn't quite go as planned, and I think it will. But if this year maybe the Rangers overachieved a bit, and maybe people are overvaluing Mr. Mika Zibanejad because he played with Panarin, and he had one. Listen, Sam Gagner had an 8-point game once. Before we start talking about Zibanejad having a 5-goal game, Sam Gagner had an 8-point game. Is just what I would like to say there. But I really think Carolina. This is going to be a fun series, and I think the Rangers are the reason why Carolina really don't want to have this format, because this could go either way, to be honest, actually. And Shesterkin's the main reason why.
Yeah.
That's all the playoff matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Daniel.
Yes.
Your Lego Batmobile, where is it?
It's actually on my desk here. I'm not going to show it. It's a bit messy here, but it's actually a good progress. I didn't realize how big it is. Like it's already it's like 60 centimeters.
Oh, hold on. So
I'm already
it's 3,000 pieces, right?
Yeah, 3,004, almost 3,400 pieces.
So the Falcon is 1,400, and it's bigger than my head. And I have a big head. That's why I don't have my hair too short. I have a big head. And you said yours is 60 centimeters?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm only on. This is such a random tangent. I'm on bag 6 out of 25.
I was gonna ask, 25 bags, eh?
Yeah.
That's good. Wait. So did you get your Anakin Starfighter?
No, that's back ordered until July. So
okay.
I'll get that eventually.
I wanted to try and resurrect some Star Wars talk here, and I'm gonna ask you about Clone Wars because. You hurt me. So, Alex, Clone Wars, you're at season 3 now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm halfway done.
How are you liking it so far? Who's your favorite character?
Obi-Wan.
Huh?
Sure. Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hey, guys, what is a Jedi's favorite dessert?
I don't know. I know it's something cheesy.
Obi-Wan Cannoli!
Oh.
Good joke. What did Luke say to the person who was threatening his sister? You better not, Leia.
Oh.
Okay. You know what? Let's just end the episode.
No. One more. Okay? Okay? What do you call a Wookiee that loves chocolate?
A cookie?
A Wookiee chip cookie.
No. What? Wait, that doesn't make sense.
A chocolate chip Wookiee. Well, guys, I think that's everything. We had a very news-packed episode of the podcast today. if you enjoyed it, we had a lot of stuff happen on camera. If you want to love and see the shenanigans, you really do need to check out the YouTube channel, because I feel like we need to get it going, as we say every episode. And the channel is one subscriber behind my YouTube channel, which is not. I'm not happy with that. I got to get some distance going there. So check out my YouTube channel as well. Be sure to check out all 3 of our social medias. Our Instagrams, Twitter, whatever there. Check out our Twitters especially, because I don't know about you guys, my Instagram's pretty barren. Nothing really happens there except pictures of Krakens. Be sure to check out Joe's Instagram as well. Get the discussion going on those posts, because Alex puts so much content on there, but we need to get it. We need to just get everything going, really. When you're listening to this, your Spotify's, your voice at the end. Thank you to VoiceHead for having us on their platform. When you're looking at Spotify, follow the show. We want to be like Joe Rogan one day. If you're looking at your iTunes, leave you and a 5-star rating. It helps grow the show. And let us know what you're thinking about all this playoff stuff. Do you think that Sidney Crosby is toast?